So, welcome.
Lovely intro. Hello, I'm here.
Lovely intro. Welcome to episode 2 of the Calmly Disruptive podcast. I have today with me Emily Olivia, who is an
Hello.
IFBB Pro bikini athlete. And we're going to delve into a little bit about her background, where she is now, and just go into depth about the industry and just
Hmm.
let the beans spill, basically, because that's what we're here for, isn't it?
Definitely. I feel like the name, the Calmly Disruptive, just says it all.
I feel like
Because
I'm on a mission.
oh, I'm gonna be disruptive. This would be
So
very great.
what we'll start with from like, because a lot of people from my side might follow you, but it'd be nice for them to kind of get to know you a little bit. So like, take us through a bit of your journey. Obviously, you're an IFBB pro. You're
Hmm.
retired now, but you've done quite a lot in the past. So do you want to
Yes.
take us through your bodybuilding journey and kind of lead us up to where you are now, really?
Cool. So I am an IFBB Pro, IFBB Pro Bikini. Got my card in 2022, naturally as well, and I am natural, lifetime natural
Sorry,
athlete.
I should have prefaced that she's natural.
If you didn't know, I'm natural and I do scream it from the hilltops.
Even more impressive to get your pro card, by the way. Sorry, continue.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Appreciate it. I did 2 seasons as a pro, and after my second season, which was God, over a year, just over a year ago now, is when I decided to take a step back. Prior to that, I'll go into that in detail in a sec. But
Yep.
prior to that, started competing when I was 21, 2018. Started in Pure Elite Fitness Model Federation. I'm sure everybody has seen it. Do you know what? It is one of the best ones to do. So much fun, so enjoyable, and that was what gave me the kick to get into it. And I only ever did it as a hobby. Just started doing it as a hobby year after year, and it wasn't until that year that I got my card that I realized I could actually, be quite successful in it. So I think I did three, no, five, no, 2018, 19, 20. So I did 5 seasons before I got my card, 5 years straight competing, and then 2 seasons as a pro. So 7 years roughly in total competing, all natural.
That's
And yeah,
impressive.
been pretty successful at it. But as I said, I decided to take a step back after my last season, which was in 2024. That's right, 2024. I just had a realization. I did one natural pro show, the Ben Weeder, and then I did an open pro show. And the open pro show, I didn't do well in either. I was way too lean for me.
Yeah.
If I get to a certain point, of condition, I start to go catabolic. I can't, as a natural athlete, you cannot hold condition for a long period of time because you'll just start to look stringy and depleted. And I was holding condition for too long to the point where I lost my fullness and my bubbliness. I had a bad experience on show day with my last show, the Ben Weeder, as well. Like, I didn't have time to pump up, to eat before. Like, that's a whole story in itself, so I won't go into that. But either way,
Yeah.
ended my season just ended in a place where I was gutted, and I spent a fair bit of time reflecting on how far I could actually go within the industry. The fit model category hadn't been introduced yet, so it was either spend time out and get bigger, as bigger as I could get naturally,
Yeah.
or go assisted, which I didn't want to do, or retire. And I decided to take a year out, kind of figure things out. Fit model came into play, so I thought, right, that's probably the route I'll go down if I do another season. But in that year that I took a step back, I decided I was 100% never going to do bikini again. I didn't want to get bigger. I didn't want to take gear. I don't, as fit models now introduced, I think bikini will get bigger as well, and I don't want to do that. So I just decided to retire completely from bikini. That's not to say that I wouldn't potentially do fit model in the future, but I don't want to be ingrained into the industry. If I ever did do fit model, I don't want to be ingrained into the industry as I was previously.
Yeah.
If I do, I won't document things on social media. I won't post it all out there. I would do it for me as a hobby, like I did when I first competed. But as
Yeah.
I said, for now, I've taken a step back. I'm really, really happy in my normal life, doing a lot of fitness, doing a lot of different style training, running, enjoying that. And I'm just coaching my athletes to stage because obviously off the base of everything I've done, I've got a lot of experience. So yeah, that's where I'm at now.
That's brilliant, honestly. And I obviously we've met at the seminar, and then we seem to bump into each other at all the natural shows, don't we? Well,
Yeah,
I've never competed as a natural. I also say it there, but I coached natural athletes at the time, and we always
mm,
bump into each other there, and we always kind of clicked, didn't we? And got on
yeah,
really well. And then I saw in the new year that you started doing like running and fitness stuff, and
yeah,
I just made that decision in December. I was like, right, I'm definitely not going to compete anymore. And then I saw you doing it. I was like, yes. Yes, I was like, I'm not the only one that's decided to
The-
go to the
yeah,
light side now. You know?
yeah. Yeah, literally. That's the thing. Like when I see somebody else has decided to take a step back from bodybuilding as well, and they're pursuing fitness and all that sort of stuff, I'm like, come on,
Like,
we're
yes,
doing this together. We're in it.
but it's so rare because you know what you said when you're in that kind of
Mm,
mindset, you're in bodybuilding. Like you literally, if you said to yourself 3 or 4 years ago, you're going to be doing this, you'd be like, no, I'm not. Don't be stupid.
yeah,
I'm not doing that.
yeah,
Whereas now,
definitely.
you kind of, I think, because you've done it for like 7 years, I'd been in it like 10 years at that point. So it's a
Hmm.
long time. It's a, you know, you've put your skin in the game with it all. It's a
Yeah.
long time. But then kind of, you know, you look back and you're like, why didn't I do this before? And with bodybuilding, you can't really, you can, but if you want to do it properly, like you've done, you have to go all in. You can't
Yeah.
do a dabble in a little bit of this, this. You have to be 100% dedicated to
Agreed.
it. Um, and like you said, as a natural athlete for yourself, you've got absolutely nothing there helping you. So if you go off and do too much stuff when you're prepping, you know, you're at high risk to injury, you've got nothing that's going to preserve your tissue. You know, you can't be like, oh, you know, my conditioning's not there. Let's take some lipolytics. Let's kind of put some diuretics and stuff. That you can't do that. You know, you guys,
Yeah.
it's tough and it's so impressive. You know, like I said, I've never competed as a natural athlete, and to see like the conditioning that you guys get and you know where you go is brilliant. You know, and it's just that much more kind of dedication to the cause as a natural athlete to show
Mm,
how much you can actually do with your body and the capacity you can push it within your natural kind of well, your natural capacity essentially. So
yeah. For
it, but
sure.
yeah, it's great to see it. And like I say, I think there's a lot of women that are probably in the same position as us where they're on the cusp, they're kind of on the edge, they want to keep doing it, but they kind of don't really know where to go after and what to do.
Yeah.
uh, and you know, like we've probably gone through that kind of thing ourselves.
Yes. Oh
and,
my God. Yeah.
and you sit there, don't you, and you think, God, is this the right decision? You like, you know, that's all I know. And you know, correct me if I'm wrong, and I was going to ask you this question. Like, I found a huge part of me, like my identity became bodybuilding, and I
Yeah.
was so scared to step outside of that because it's all I've known. Like, I started the same age as you. I started when I was like 20, 21. I'm 32
Mhm.
now. And you know, you kind of get in that bubble of this is who I am, and then anything beyond that, it kind of scares you a little bit, doesn't it, to go out and do something different.
Absolutely. It's terrifying because I think for me, when you've been in a lifestyle
Hmm.
which consists continuously of gaining weight or losing weight,
Yeah.
gaining weight or losing weight, and there is no middle ground. You're either gaining it or you're losing it. You're weightlifting
Mm.
all the time, the same thing over and over again,
Yeah.
which is what you need to do in the industry. I'm not bashing this in any
No.
way.
No. No.
If you choose to be a bodybuilder, you choose to get up on stage, you want to be competitive, you need to do the same thing. Oh, your training, literally in 7 years, my training probably didn't really change. It was
Yeah.
always the base of the same movements over and over again, just trying to continuously develop muscle, develop strength, lose it in prep, and then redevelop again in the bulk. And
Exactly.
that's what your life consists of.
Mm.
So when you suddenly take a step back and you're like, okay, and this is just one thing. This is just training and
Yeah.
body. Like there's not even the psychological side. That's a whole
Yeah.
other thing. But just straight away moving away from that and being like, okay, well, now I need to figure out how to maintain my body in the in between. Where am I comfortable? That isn't
Hmm.
absolutely shredded, stage lean, where throughout bodybuilding you're getting so much validation for being shredded, but it's not
Yeah.
sustainable.
Yeah.
And then it also can't be the bulk because you're uncomfortable there, and you can't just keep gaining weight because I'll be obese if I do that. Like,
Fine, it's off season.
it's fine. It's off season. I'll just eat, a Mackey's and a load of cookies and all these things. It's fine. It's fine
Yeah,
because before you know it, you're on the other side.
yeah.
So you're suddenly having to accept that you have to find this middle ground. And what I think a huge part of bodybuilding is, it is highs and lows
Hmm.
massively. You get massive highs from getting up on stage. You get lows from going into your off season and not feeling the best and most comfortable in yourself. Then you get a high from lifting really really heavy in the gym and hitting PBs. Then you get a low of losing your strength and feeling like things are going to shit and isolation and prep. So you're going from essentially what is a very you know as much as people will look at bodybuilding and go, it's very repetitive, very same thing over and over and over again. Like within, not necessarily physically, but within, actually, it's a very up and down lifestyle, because it does have a huge, impact on that dopamine that you get. The dopamine hits throughout. So when you're going from something that is constantly goal driven in one way or another to a middle ground where it's like there's not really any particular goal, you're just existing, which
Yeah.
is great when you get that, when you realize it's good to be happy in the
Mhm.
present. But when you're going to that from a high low lifestyle, Jesus, it is hard.
Yeah, and do you, I found that a lot of, obviously, for me, found that like eventually burnt me out a little bit, because like I said, I was existing to compete, and I would live in batch time. So I would live in, like, depending on where I got in my career, I'd do like a 6-8 month off season, then I'm back in prep, and I'd live on these kind of schedules of like 6-month breaks. And
Yeah.
it kind of, at the time you like it, but you don't realize how all encompassing that actually is. And the mental burnout that has on a lot of people as well. And I find that's eventually what catches up to you, because like you're obviously like a counselor, and you deal with psychotherapy, and like, what's your opinion on that? Like, do you feel like, I don't know, do you feel like bodybuilding like attracts a certain like type of person? Do you feel like
I
we?
think bodybuilding, in my opinion, I think it offers stability
Hmm.
when people live very, you know, um, disruptive lives at times.
Chaotic. Yeah.
So yeah, so it's hard because it can give both benefits and like positives and negatives. If you've got quite a chaotic life, as you say, and you want some stability, you want some security, you want some routine, some structure, bodybuilding will give you that, defo. If you do a prep and you work towards a show, it'll give you that purpose and it'll give you a reason to be consistent every single day and show up, which is great.
Hmm.
But the issue is people will use that to give themselves routine and structure and whatnot, and they will love it throughout prep. But once they hit their goal, what happens a majority of the time, and we all know that post show reverse dieting is the hardest time from
Yes.
competing. That's where people then struggle, because that goal that was essentially giving them all this purpose to keep structure, to keep routine, to kind of give them management over their life is gone. And
Hmm.
what you have to learn when you decide not to compete anymore is how to implement in that routine and structure for yourself,
Yeah.
because you're doing that. You think you're doing it for yourself. You're not really doing it for yourself. You're doing it for a goal. And
Hmm.
then when you step back and you don't have that goal anymore, you realize that a lot of the time people kind of will sometimes lack the capacity to actually adhere to those protocols for themselves. And they almost, it sounds awful,
No, it doesn't.
but
I agree.
sometimes people will lack the self-respect for themselves
Yeah.
to adhere to those kind of protocols for themselves, and that often, in my opinion, is down to a lack of self-love and
Hmm.
a lack of self-worth. And again, from competing, you can get a lot of self-worth from competing. So once the goal of the show is gone, again,
Yeah.
all these difficulties you were having prior to starting your prep, prior to working towards your goal of getting up on stage, they all come back. You essentially become the person you were prior to prep
Hmm.
without even meaning to, unless throughout your prep and throughout uh, your goal to get on stage, unless you allow yourself to really develop throughout that stage and recognize you need to keep that development going after stage, that's where people tend to spiral. I hope all that makes sense. I feel like I went off on one then, but
No, no. Do you know what? I was literally listening to it. And I was like, this is exactly what happened to me. Because like my life revolved around bodybuilding, and do you know, like you've put that down to a T. Like that is literally what happened to me. And after the structure went, I was like, oh, what the fuck do I do now?
Mhm.
Like I said before, you know, my identity, my life was revolving around bodybuilding. And like you said, I live a very chaotic life. Like I'm most ADHD person ever, and like that's not just oh I have ADHD. It's bad.
Same.
So you know how it is. So the structure of that and like the hyper focus into it, you just become all engrossed in it.
Yeah.
And then when you come away from that, you're like, I don't know it. I don't know anything else. Like, and I did that from a young age, you know, from
Mm.
like my developing age, you know, from like 20 upwards, you know, so I'm establishing myself. So you learn a lot about yourself. But then when you come out the back end of it, and I think you've described that amazingly there, you just
Thank
like,
you.
what do I do? But no, it was brilliant. Like the tangents are great because they're great tangents. It's not like when I go off talking about a ladybug I've just seen crawling up the wall. You know, it's
I feel that. I can do that.
can do that. But do you know what? Sometimes, again, you know, you're talking about something that you're passionate about and you enjoy, and
Mm.
you kind of you go all in on that. But I think you have described that so well, and I think that will resonate with so many women that are going to listen to this because it happens to so many people, and they don't want to admit that they have a fear. They don't want to be looked at in a different light, and you know,
Mm.
they're like, you know. What happened to you? Like, you know, at the end of the day, we are human beings. We push ourselves to these extremes,
Yeah,
but we are human beings after the end of it. And, you know, I think that just saying that it will resonate with so many women because it's the more I think, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, but if you look at how many women have retired now from bodybuilding, it's
yeah.
insane. And you know, there's pros that I follow, and I still follow them because I think they give great content and training. But there's some of the pros that you see, the assisted pros, and one in particular that I follow. She has come away from competing now,
Mhm.
but she was very much, you know, I follow these protocols of like, you know, her assistants and things like that. But
Mhm.
unfortunately, it's had quite a negative effect on her physical appearance and things like that. She's got a great physique, but now
Mhm.
she's gone more down the health route,
Mhm.
which I think's great. But
Yeah.
also, it's kind of at a point where I think it's kind of arrived a little bit too late.
Too late.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and that's the problem there. So kind of like leading on from that, I think you know so many of these women that kind of like I said on the cusp of like do I stop now, do I keep going? I think that message that you just said there will hit a lot of people and they'll think, do you know what, yeah, it's you know, maybe it is my time to step away from competing. You know, you like you said, you can still be a bodybuilder, you can still train
Defo.
as hard as you trained before. You're just not going through the roller coaster of going super lean, super big, super lean, super, and you know, for the all the athletes, you know, and especially when you're chasing a lot of size, it's a hell of a lot of a strain to go under, and
Yeah.
it does weigh on you after a while. It does.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think when you've been in it for a long period of time, it's also hard to recognize when when are you done?
Yeah.
Because for me, after I got my pro card, I was buzzing with that. Like I continued to compete because I enjoyed it, I loved it. But it's funny, the year that I won my pro card, I actually was contemplating never competing again then. And
Yeah.
I remember being like, oh, I don't know, do I want to do this? Like I'm really enjoying my life at the moment because I started off that year horrendously. Like it was really one of the worst years of my life. Ended up turning out to be one of the most incredible years of my life. But it was incredible prior to that prep
Yeah.
because I just started living more and experiencing more, and I was in a body that I was really secure in because I wasn't really trying to develop any more muscle, or I was in this middle ground, similar to the middle ground I was in after I did decide to take a step back last year. um and then I went on to prep and I went in and I won my pro card and I was buzzing. And then, but I remember after that, after I won my pro card, I was like, oh, well, I'll do a pro show because
Mm.
obviously I won my pro card. I'll do that. I'll go and
Yeah.
do Washington. And I loved it. I did love it. I loved doing that show. But I remember I had a really difficult relationship with food prior to that prep. I was not, I remember it was a strain getting ready for that show. I got a top five in that pro show, buzzing, so
Amazing.
happy. Yeah, I was so happy. But part of me was kind of like, oh, I almost felt like I really had to force that
Yeah.
prep to make
Mm.
it happen. And then after that, the next prep, I wanted to try and like push even harder because I'd got in the top five. I was like, oh, what if I could do a little bit more? I could maybe get top three next time. And the goalposts always move. And when I stepped away and I decided, all right, I'm not going to do bikini again, and I decided that was that, it was so hard because there was this part of me that does feel like, oh, but you know, what if I did do it? What could be? And that's why even now I've taken a step back, but there's that part of me that's still going, well, but fit model, you never
Yeah,
know until you try. Like that's why I say I wouldn't document anything on social media. I'd just go and do it for
go for it.
me, just to see. But again, that just proves right there that there's always that part of you that's always going to be thinking, what is next?
Yeah,
What if? And I say to my partner Josh all the time, I'm like, oh, if I do it, I'd be doing it for me, and I'd be doing it, because I don't know what had happened. Like, what if I've retired too soon? What if I was this close?
mm,
But then in the same sentence, I'll say, but I don't know if I'm willing to sacrifice my life and sacrifice the balance I have now and the comfort I
yeah,
have in myself. Like people, until you find how happy you are in your normal self,
yeah,
like you don't realize. Like I look back at shredded me now, and I remember when I was, not the most secure in myself. I remember valuing myself so much on being shredded and
yeah,
getting up on stage and getting a lot of external validation from that. But
mm,
now I have a very secure life. Like I'm very happy in my life. I love my business. I love what I do. I have a great way away, a great life away from what everyone sees on social media, and it's really good. You do start to wonder whether it's worthwhile
yeah,
putting so much sacrifice and so much pressure on your body when my body's the best health it's ever been. My security in my lifestyle is great. I love how I train. I have a great relationship with food, and I think the relationship with food is a huge thing that makes people continue to compete because they don't have a great relationship with food.
no,
But I've gone off on a tangent. But what I'm
no, no,
saying
no,
is discovering when the best time is
mm,
to retire. There's never going to be a good time. Like
no.
there's never a good. You never know
You'll
when to
always put it
start.
off. You're
Yeah,
always going to put it off. You'll be like, yeah, but what about just 2 more weeks? It's like people trying to start things. It's equally as
yeah,
hard to
the
finish them. And
same.
I think for me, one of my clients, one of my posing clients said to me like the other day, like, you've grieved it. And I was like, it sounds so silly, but you
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 do.
grieve it. You go through a grieving process. You kind of live in this like abyss of like, you think it sounds very dramatic, but you feel like in that moment you feel like your life's over.
Yeah.
You're not going to be as good as you ever were, and it took so long for me to come. I'm still coming out the other side of that now. You're like, oh,
Absolutely.
but, no one wants to hire me as a coach. So I don't compete anymore, and you attach your worth to that
To it.
because
Yeah.
you're like, my identity is someone that sees me shredded, and like you've probably had this as well. And I think the reason it's reinforced in my head is when I was super lean and stage ready, you get everyone coming to you. They want posing, they want coaching, they want tips. They can't get enough of you, and you're like,
Yeah.
holy shit, I'm doing really well here. I look awesome. I'm doing well in my competing. My business is thriving. And then you start to go into your off season, and then all these like little like
Quietens
good
down. And
houses, they all start to go back in the wood, and they just go off and they don't care about you. And then you go back in, then they come back out again, and it's like you say, you're riding this wave constantly, and you do attach your worth to that body. And you look at yourself, you're like, I look strong and I look amazing, but deep down, you like we could look at a picture of ourselves at a particular point in prep, and we could remember exactly how we felt at that point. Exactly
shit.
how I felt at that point. Yeah, you feel like shit.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you're like in that moment also, you're like, oh, I'm not lean enough. And you look back now and you're like, are you fucking
I
crazy?
look like a walking corpse. What am I
Yeah.
on about?
The death face. Like, I remember some of my pictures, I literally looked like I was going like this, like really sucking in. And they're like, Deb, why are you doing that with your face? I'm like, I said, I
Not.
can't not do it. I was like, now I'm full, I'm plump.
Yeah.
But then, people look, and I think like a lot of like athletes and it's particularly females, like our self-worth and our is like revolves around how we look. And it's so difficult for that because as you've like we had a little bit of a chat pre-recording, but social media is like, it's so good in so many aspects, but it can be so damaging in others, because
Yeah,
it's reinforcing and validating people to look a certain way all the time.
agree.
And you get people that will message and say, or comment and say, "Oh, you're looking a bit pregnant there. You're looking a bit fat," or something like that. And you're like, "This is my organs,
Thanks, mate.
female, yeah."
Yeah,
And also, mate, I'm not shredded like that all year round. Like, and these are
yeah,
people that have never done it, and but
yeah,
but you seem to still take it to heart, because no one wants to have criticism in a negative way,
no.
do they?
No, this is the thing. As we like said before we started the podcast, when you're in the bodybuilding industry and you are so immersed into it,
Hmm.
your your entire view of like the world is based off this industry. So you're every day you're looking at people who are shredded, on your Instagram, getting up on stage. They're posting throwbacks. They're posting
Yeah,
currents and prep. That's what you're seeing. You're consuming that 24/7. You're surrounded by it.
yeah,
So you think that that is the normality for you and for your life and for how you look. And again, you put all your validation on it. Anything you post on social media when you're lean, you're going to get loads of external validation from it. You show up in your gym and you get the people that aren't a part of the industry going, "Wow, you're so lean. Like
mm,
that's amazing." And again, it adds in more and more external validation. More of your self-worth is tied to this. So when that quietens down, you feel unworthy. You feel like you're not good enough. But what you really have to think about is, in normal day-to-day life, this bodybuilding industry is tiny.
yeah,
It literally consists of a tiny minority of people, but that community does obviously value being shredded, because that's the goal, to get up on stage.
yeah,
So of course, yeah, you are going to feel validated by that, because that is essentially the goal.
yeah,
So when you're there, people are going to give that value. And then normal people in day-to-day life, it's abnormal to them.
yeah,
It's so unnormal to be shredded. So of
yeah,
course, again, they're going to look at that and go, "Wow, that's amazing." But again, they don't understand the mechanics it takes to get there and how you feel. So again, it's almost irrelevant. And
yes,
you have to find security in yourself to be okay with the fact that you're going to be shredded sometimes. Sometimes you're not. People are going to have opinions, and you've got to be okay with what they say. One thing I say to my clients all the time is, when they go into off season or they start developing and they're like, "Oh, I'm not shredding anymore. Like I feel like people are judging me for putting on weight. I want to wear my baggy clothes to the gym." I'm like, go in there and own what you're doing, because that
100%.
you have to give yourself permission to be all right with the fact you're gaining weight. You've got to be like, "I am gaining weight and I am not shredded because I'm a bodybuilder." So if someone comes up to you and they're like, "Oh, you've put a bit of weight on," you go, "Well, yeah, I'm a fucking bodybuilder, mate.
What
I'm
would you
building.
expect?
Yeah, I'm building." You own that and you go, "Yeah, no, what I have. Yeah, that's right."
But
How
yeah,
does somebody, you're confident in how you hold yourself. As I said, you have security in yourself. You're going to be so much more comfortable. But a lot of people, and this isn't just the bodybuilding industry, this is in general, a lot of people aren't comfortable in themselves and aren't confident in themselves. So do take a lot of their own self-worth and value from what other people say, which is why in the bodybuilding industry it is so hard to
yeah,
be okay in yourself, because that noise from other people's validation is even louder. So you
100%.
really have to be mentally strong to be able to bypass that. Otherwise, you will live in a constant cycle for
Yes.
years, depending on how long you're in the industry, for years of feeling validated solely when you're lean. And
Yeah.
until you let go of that, you're never going to be all right in yourself, whether you are bulking, whether you are lean, or whether you are normal. And I think the main thing I'm trying to say is, you need to find security in yourself to really be happy in yourself, regardless as to what you do.
Yeah, I honestly, I agree. Like, I think, like you said, you're going through like being lean, and then you're going to like an extreme bulk, and
Mm,
sometimes, you had, like I said, you have to find comfort in both of those. Like I had a wardrobe for a bulk and I had a wardrobe for a
Yeah.
prep. And every bodybuilder, you have that, yeah. Everybody, and I
True.
think once you've got that, I think you're more accepting of what, because you know what's coming, and
Yeah.
you know that's what you have to go through. Like you said, when people go, oh, oh, you've put on a little bit of weight. Do you still train? And what? Oh, you're not competing anymore. And you think, hold on a second,
Who are
like,
you?
yeah, who the fuck are you? Coming
Yeah.
here, spouting all this shit. So
Yeah.
yeah, first of all, like, who are you? And also, you have to remember, a lot of these people don't understand the process. So in my mind, I kind of, it sounds so bad. I kind of talk to them like a child. Like I'm like, they don't know, so
Mm.
they're very emphatic. Like the way I talk to them, I'll explain it to them like, oh, okay, and then like then you kind of educate them a little bit, and then if they keep
Great.
saying
Yeah.
it, like eventually, like, you're just a dick. Like you just
Yeah.
want to project your insecurities onto me because you're
Yeah.
not doing shit all with your life.
Legit.
Sorry, that's from
It's
many experiences.
true. It's true. I always say a lot of people's projections or what they say to you is a reflection of their own
100,
insecurity.
yeah, hundred
But that's why
percent.
you've got to own what you do and recognize that people will say what they want to say. They will have their opinions, but that's often on them. And
Yes,
you don't get a say in what other people want to think or want to judge or whatever. You can't force somebody to understand. You can't force somebody to accept you as you are. You've just got to let them get on. And
yeah,
like you say, the best thing you can do, again, something that I recommend to all my clients to they need to do with their friends, their family, their relationships, and strangers when they choose to compete. This is their first time experiencing it too. Like if you're a
yeah,
first timer, they are new to what you're doing equally as you are new to the process. So when you're cutting and you're getting irritable and you're getting annoyed because you've got no energy
mm,
and you just want to go to bed,
yeah,
this person that lives with you or your best mate or the people you work with, they don't know why you're pissed off. They don't know why you're irritable or you're feeling rubbish or you can't perform basic
precisely, yeah,
day-to-day tasks well
yeah,
because they don't know how it is. They've never seen someone cut to the level you are before. So you need
no,
to equally educate them
mm,
as much as you're learning about how difficult the process is too. And it's the same with bulking or
yeah.
developing or gaining weight. People are so quick to shame us when we gain weight, but
All just when we're lean.
praise us when we're lean. Yeah,
Yeah.
actually, they need to learn that there's two points to the process, and you can't have one without the other.
No, exactly. And like that's it's nice because so many people go through the same experience and they
Mm.
get pissed. Like I had a client that I was prepping recently, and this was one of the reasons I actually stopped prepping clients, because this was just for me, by the way. I still love bodybuilding, but there were points where it built up and they were getting shitty with their partner, they were getting shitty with me, and I took them to a side. I said, look, I said, you have to remember that this is a choice. No one's got a gun to your head and they're making you do it.
Yeah.
This is your choice. Don't make your choices, if they're good or shitty ones, don't make those around you suffer.
Hmm.
I said also at the same time, I said, make sure that you tell them, like you said, tell them what you're doing. Let them try to understand. If
Yeah.
they're not comfortable with that, or they try and sabotage you, I said, then you need to you need to delve in deeper and see like what the issue is here. And if it's not really affecting your relationships with these people, it should be fine.
Yeah.
But if it is having a profound effect on your relationships with these people, it's straining relationships, causing
Yeah.
issues, you need to then strip it back and be like, am I doing this properly? Am I doing it but feeling like, am I prepping myself to punish myself? Am I prepping myself for enjoyment and a
Hmm.
challenge? Because I think a lot of people tend to go into preps to impress people, to show this, to show that, and they're not doing it. Like you and I know, if you want to prep, you do it properly. You're all in. You're doing it for you, and that's the only way you'll be very successful in it. If you're doing it because you want to do it, if you're doing it
Yeah.
for someone else or to impress people on social media and all that, you're not going to last. You're going to burn down bridges. You're going to
Yeah.
do irreparable damage to your body, to your relationships with people. And I think that now so many people jump on the bodybuilding wagon. They go in the gym, they pick up a dumbbell, they're a bodybuilder. Then they start a
Yeah.
prep, and they've the foundation is not set. They've not set the physical foundation, nor have they prepped themselves mentally, because you have to make sure you are solid in your mind and
Yeah.
sound to be able to embark on a prep. If you are imbalanced in any way, shape, or form mentally, it's a recipe for a disaster. And you see it
Yeah.
before you tell people, and you're like, look, you need to make sure that you feel 100% yourself. Like you said, there's self-love there, self-respect, and
Yeah.
also that you can be like, I can do this, and not drag people down with me or take it out on them. You know, like, sure,
Yeah.
we're human beings. We get shitty with people. We have a short fuse sometimes, but that is amplified 1,000 times on prep,
On
especially
prep.
towards the back end. So you need to be able to be like, right, I can deal with this by myself and not take
Yeah.
it out on these people,
Yeah.
because nowadays people are like, oh, they're doing stories where they're crying about their food, they're doing this, and I'm like, what the fuck happened here? Like, when I started back in 2014, it wasn't as like prominent as it is now, and you
Mm.
just got on with it, and you like show
Yeah.
people what it was. Like, yeah, sure, maybe we have a cry here and there, but I don't go on my stories and fucking cry about
Yeah.
over my mints or something. I used to drop food on the floor way out. If I drop my food on the floor weighing out, like a bit of fish, I'd pick it up with a fluff on it and eat it. I'm like, oh, I don't give a shit.
Yeah,
You know what
literally.
I mean?
Literally,
Like,
when I did my first prep, like it was 2018, and I think Instagram was only just kind of becoming popular, and
yeah,
I barely posted anything. I
mm,
posted a couple of like pictures of my abs here and there, and
yeah, they're the first ones to
maybe
go up.
literally maybe like a bad posing photo, but nobody who followed me knew what I was doing, and I was just like, yeah, I'm doing this. And then I got
Yeah,
up on stage, did the competition, and there were times where it was really fucking hard, which it's going to be on
mm,
prep, like it was hard, and I was just like, yeah, just another hard day to get
yeah.
through, it's
And
fine.
you get
And
on
you
with it,
just got
don't
on
you?
with it.
I started following this girl, so I did a posing session with her, and I normally follow them to like support them and see what they're doing. And
Mm.
she uploaded this video, and this is what she'd done, right? So this is how bad it's got. Her coach gave her meals, and then she had put her meals into ChatGPT, right? And it said,
Mhm.
how much do I need to weigh them out? Something stupid like that. She prepped all these meals out, set them up, and then went on her stories crying, saying, oh, it's over measured my food and I've cooked up the wrong stuff. So instead of just doing the basic thing where you bulk cook it and do it yourself, she put it into ChatGPT, did it, and then went on one of her stories crying about it. I was like, fucking hell. I was like, no wonder people think we're
What?
a bunch of dicks. Yeah, I don't
That's
understand.
actually mental.
Honestly, and I was like, unfollow. Anyone that posts up shit where they're moaning about random stuff or crying, they get unfollowed. I can't deal with it, mate. Honestly, I can't. I just the industry nowadays, I think, has a massively it's gone there's some great bits, but I think a lot of it has gone to shit in so many
I
ways.
think that the thing with competing and prepping is it has such it can have such an effect on you mentally. It really, really can. But it is a choice, and you have to
It's
be
a choice.
accepting of the fact. And I say it all the time. If you want to prep, you have to understand you are going to be affected mentally and physically. Both
Yeah,
are going to be affected, and you have to be prepared for that. And you are going to have days where you're crying your eyes out because you don't want to eat beef mince and potatoes for the 700th time. You
yeah,
are, and you're going to cry because you put a frying pan in the fridge, and you're going to cry because I don't even know. You cry over the most ridiculous things, but you
yeah,
know that it's a reflection of the fact that you're low energy. You've made this choice, and just because you're struggling, which you will be, that doesn't mean that you're negative about it or you complain about it. Like you get on with it, and that's what I've always said. Like every time I competed. Fucking hell, there were times where I hated my life and I was in prep and I was on that Stairmaster and I had tears running down my eyes and I thought that what is the point in
what's the
life?
point? Why am I
Like,
doing this shit to myself, you think,
yeah,
don't you?
yeah, what is the point in life? What is the point in me? And it's heavy to say it, but it's true. But I cried whilst making sure I finished that 30 minutes on the bloody Stairmaster
Yeah,
because I
yeah.
had to do it again tomorrow.
But you
Anyway,
know
so
what? When you finish it, you feel so much more like accomplished as well. You
mm,
think if I and the thing is, when you're massively competitive and you're going for it, you think if I don't do this, my
yeah,
competition is doing it, and then they're probably crying or they're not, but they're still doing it. And if they're not doing it and I am, I'm already one up on them. You know,
yeah,
you sit in that time like where your mind's constantly telling you like stop, 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 and you have to literally within your will say no, I'm going to keep going, I'm going to keep going, and you eventually you override it and you
yeah,
change that portion of your brain to keep going, and
mm,
you've got to that point where like yeah you could I would never I've never recorded myself crying on stuff like that, like I don't,
mm,
because in the moment I'm like I've got to deal with this first, and then I'd probably go in and be like, yeah, I had a bit of a shit time, but I got it done. And
Mm.
someone might see that and think, fucking hell, like I cry. It's okay to cry and get upset about stuff. I think a lot of people nowadays think that that's like, I was always brought up in the thing like crying's weakness, and that's such a bad thing. But within
Mm.
my like past like 5 years of my life, I've learned like crying's good. It's not a bad
Yeah.
thing. We
Hmm.
need to let that come out. But I think in some instances, people I think that if you're not crying and you're not going through a tough time, it means that you're not working hard enough. And like
Yeah, I know what you
some
mean.
that's not the case. Like my last prep, I think I passed out in the heat because I was walking around with 20 kilos on me doing 20,000 steps in that
Yeah.
heat in 2022. But that's the only negative thing I had, and I was crying because my mum at the time wouldn't let me go back out. And I was like, I want to go back out. I need to get my steps done. And that's like, but the rest of the prep was awesome. It felt so easy, and I
Yeah.
was like, why is this so easy? But it's because I was so solid. Like I had no external stress. I had no like
Yeah.
I was built for that prep, and I did so well
Yeah.
in it. And sometimes you go into a prep and you're like, oh fucking like if you've got that tiny little bit of doubt before you go
That's
in,
it. Mm.
it's like the cracks will start to show, and you're like, oh my
Definitely.
god, I've got to plug in my laptop. Sorry, keep
Okay.
talking.
But yeah, I always think prep is if you choose to do it, you have to remember it's a privilege. Like
Yes.
it's a privilege to do. It's a privilege to suffer. To
Mm,
suffer by choice is a privilege, and to be
yeah.
able to make that conscious decision that you want to get up on stage, you want to go to levels of lean that some people might live in day-to-day life, unwillingly, as
Yes.
horrible as that sounds. It's the
Yeah.
reality. There are people, unfortunately, in the world that are not privileged in a way to be able to do something like a competition prep. So if you choose to go into it, you have to be, you've got to be positive, and you've got to be, what's the word, appreciative of the
Yeah.
fact that you can do that. And the people that go into it and complain the whole way and see it as a negative, and add literally like, they're being forced to do it, it's not for you. It isn't for you, and it sounds horrible to say, but it's
It's
not.
not.
And if you go into a prep with that mindset, with that negativity and complaining about everything, you are going to come out the other side worse.
Yeah.
You are, because you've suffered the whole way. You've got up on stage. You probably had a good show day. Majority of people love show day. I don't know
Mm,
anybody. Well, there are people that maybe don't, but majority of people, no matter how much you suffer throughout your prep, you usually get show day, and you're like, yeah,
yeah.
not bad.
Yeah. It's
Um,
worth it. It was worth it.
exactly, exactly. But if you've then had a huge, huge negative, outlook on your entire prep, you've got to show day and it's been a huge high, then your thought of going back into any sort of routine or structure, because that prep's been such a negative experience for you, is then going to again be distorted,
Yeah.
because the structure and routine you had throughout prep, you don't want to go back to that. You finish your show, you want to go back to normal after the show. The show was amazing, but I don't want to do prep again. So you probably are going to want to get back up on stage, but then you don't want to prep, but then you don't want any
Yeah.
sort of routine that's similar to prep. So what's going to happen? You try and go back to normal. You start to eat normal. You start to not do your steps anymore. You're not doing your cardio anymore. So you're going to get then put on a load of weight, feel like shit, and that's all because you've decided, or you've gone into a prep with an absolutely negative, hateful, view of the routine and the structure, which,
Yeah.
in my complete opinion, the structure of a prep is something that everybody should have, not 100% in day-to-day life, but should have some sort of, that your lifestyle routine should have some sort of,
Like baseline
um
of
yeah,
it.
exactly. Like I think for a healthy lifestyle, for somebody who's not even stepping up on stage, but just for a healthy lifestyle, you should have a step goal of like
Yeah.
8 to 10K every day. Absolutely. You should have good nutrients. Maybe eating similar meals every day. It doesn't have to be, the exact same thing, but a similar baseline of your meals every day. So you're getting good nutrients in, and you're eating whole foods as well. You're doing a bit of cardio, you're doing weight training. Those are all amazing things that you
Mm,
should have in your normal life, just as a woman, not even
yeah.
getting up on stage, just as a woman. So if
Mm,
you go into your prep to establish that routine and then look at the routine like you hate it, then going in back to normal life, how are you going to maintain a healthy lifestyle if you just associated so much hatred and dislike to a prep lifestyle, which
Yeah.
without the extremes is quite a healthy lifestyle.
Yeah, and I think again you've hit the nail on the head there. Like that you have that baseline. You take the bits that will work and weave into your life because
Yeah.
it's I think what you've said there as well is you get these people that do that and then it's like, okay, it's almost like a get out of jail free card. Now I've done this, I can do what the fuck I want after. And that's where we see a lot of kind of like downward spiraling of like mental health, weight
Yeah.
gain, we see hormonal imbalances, we see all these women and I will say women obviously because that's who we work with and what we've experienced and the damage that's done, but you get this almost like rebellious self-sabotage kind of post-show where
Yes.
they're like, you know what, I'm not following a reverse diet, I'm not doing this, you can just fuck off, I'm not following my steps. They go from such an extreme of a lot of expenditure on steps, cardio, low calories, we're eating the same foods, our microbiome's not used to it, we get a lot of disruption there. Then they go in post show, they're doing no steps, no cardio, training's basically gone a bit out the window. They're doing it
Yeah.
2 times a week,
Yeah.
half-heartedly as well.
Yeah.
They're eating what they want to eat. There's disruption going on everywhere, and there's such a huge amount of this kind of like systemic inflammation going on, upset and hormonal imbalance. So endocrinology is just fucking everywhere. And then they leave their coach if they're with one, or they just disappear into the distance. And then like you said, they've put on loads of weight, they've become unhappy with themselves, they hate the way they look, they hate the way they feel. And it's such a common thing. And I think we
It
spoke a bit
is.
about post show earlier. You'll see
Yeah.
someone do one show, one season, and then they're gone. You never see them again. They come off socials, they just disappear. And sometimes it's worrying because you're like, what happened to that person? Where are
Yeah.
they? What are they doing? I hope they're okay. But the self sabotage in the rebellious stage post show, I think, is so prominent, and I think
Yeah.
that's where so many coaches nowadays lack the experience and
Yeah.
genuinely like. And I'm sorry for my swear. I swear a lot. They just don't give a fuck. They
Yeah.
do
No, it's
not.
true.
They've got their money's worth out of you. They've got their transformation picture to post on social
Yeah.
medias. They've got the accolades from you. They
Yeah.
don't care now. They'll leave you be.
Yeah.
Um,
It's
or
shocking.
you get a coach that cares, gives your protocol, checks in with you, gives you a reverse, tells you what you need to do, and that client just doesn't want to adhere to it now. They're like, I'm not doing anything else structured. I've done my bit.
Mm.
I don't want to do it anymore, and they won't listen, and then they'll go
Yeah.
down the same route. So you've got those two there, and I think that the post show and the reversing out is the hardest bit for every athlete that I've ever spoken to,
It
and
is.
personal experience. It's the
Yeah. Same.
hardest.
It is. It's so challenging. It took me years to be able to do a successful reverse, and even then, I will never ever say I've followed a reverse diet to a T. Never,
Neither have I.
never.
No,
No, no one ever has.
no,
Literally, that I know nobody. Even I know one person who tells everybody that they've always reversed perfectly, and that person has disclosed to me, yeah, no, sometimes I'll just eat an entire box of cereal just
yeah,
because
yeah.
I'm struggling. And I'm like, but you can't go out and say that you've done a perfect reverse because it just does not exist. And people value themselves so much on sticking to their reverse as well because they want a lot of when somebody gets to stage and they're really successful in their prep and they get up on stage and they have a good time and they love it and they love the process, they genuinely love it, they want to be good at the reverse. They do. Like my clients, a lot of them, they want to be good at the reverse, and I'm like, I know you want to, and I'll support you no
Got to
matter
be
what you
realistic,
do.
though.
But
You
in my
have to
head
be.
I'm thinking, you want to be good, you're not gonna be, mate. Like reality is
You're not.
it's hard. You're never going to be perfect, and people want the same level of adherence throughout prep into the reverse diet and into off season. But I'm
It
like,
doesn't
it doesn't
happen.
exist. It doesn't exist.
I
And
always had an
well,
allowance for my clients, so I
yeah,
always give them the reverse. And then in my head, I'm like, I know this person, I know they're going to go over, so I would almost give them like a buffer amount of calories I knew they would go over on. And they're like, oh,
mm,
I've done this. I'm like, it's fine because you've got your buffer. And they're like,
yeah,
what? Like, you didn't tell me about that. I'm like, I know because I know you weren't going to stick to it. So and then they're like, oh, okay. And then they get used to that, and that kind of ebbs them out a little bit. And some of my
yeah,
clients, I would just put their calories not right the way back up to off season, but I'd push them up
put them
relatively
high.
high
Yeah,
because they can't sustain that small trickle after. They just
no,
cannot do it, especially
no,
women. They can't do it.
they can't. And the thing is, uh, the difficult part of it again is once you've done your show, you've got up on stage, you've competed, you want to keep them, and sometimes. Like my clients, majority of the time will keep in their habits of their steps and their training and the cardio, which I love. I love that. You keep that in mint because you feel good for doing
Yeah,
that. It's the food. it's the
It is the
food.
food.
And it's difficult because we all want to celebrate post show. Me, I'm a huge foodie, and I will never ever act like I am going to be 100% on a reverse diet after a show, because I'm not. I want to go out. I've
Yep.
spent all this time restricted. I want to celebrate, and majority of us do. People go wrong where they do that and they shove in 4 months worth of
Yeah.
events in a week after
Yeah,
a
it's mad,
show,
isn't it?
literally, and hoarding food throughout prep and get
I
eating
did
all the
that in my first prep
yeah,
ever. A cupboard full
hoarding
of it.
everything. Yeah, and then you get it and you're like, oh, I need to finish it now. It's in the house. No, you don't. Just chuck it out. Just
Chuck
put it
it,
in the bin.
chuck it. You don't
Because
understand what you'll go through.
literally, but there's also this, the food's hard. We all get a dopamine high from the food. It gives us, a sense of pleasure and enjoyment, and we feel good eating it because we've not had it for so long. We don't have a
Mm,
show anymore that's keeping us adherent. So of course, like, you can eat what you want. But people fail to recognize, unfortunately, there are repercussions. And
yes.
I get it all the time. I can't believe how quick I've put the weight on after the show. Like, it's all gone on so quickly. Like, my body's never responded like this before. But also, your body's never been that level of lean
No.
before. Your maintenance calories have probably never been so low. And
Mm.
how often in normal day-to-day life, before you started your prep, did you go out and eat as much stuff as you do now, just in
You
day to
don't.
day?
Never do that.
You
No one
don't.
ever does that.
Exactly. So all of a sudden, you're doing all these behaviors that, you feel like they're normal. You're like, you literally feel like, oh, I'm just behaving normally and my body's responding by putting on a load of
Mm.
fat. But actually, you're not responding normally.
No.
You're doing what was perceived as normal prior to prep by going out with your friends and celebrating and eating, a bit of this, that, and the other. But you're doing it in a capacity where it's all done within maybe a couple weeks or even a month period
Yeah.
after a show, and it's so much that the body is like, what is going on? I'm depleted, my hormones are everywhere, I want to eat all the fats and carbs I can possibly have to gain some sort of energy and some sort of hormonal
Yeah.
regulation. And you're going out every single weekend, 3 times over the weekend, and you're having your on plan calories pushed up too. Of course, you're going to have repercussions for it, mate. And that's what people fail to see sometimes.
Yeah, and the thing is, like you said there, it's like the sodium aspect of it as well. The water, like the water you retain with the carbs, the sodium,
But
the
yeah,
fat. Like
it's
the
shocking.
fats obviously you've got no water retention, but you don't understand. Like people don't understand. Like you go through like edema as well. Like in your blood pressure goes up. Everything goes
Mm.
up, and they're like, oh, my heart's palpitating, and it's doing. I'm like, well, you're not. When do you eat? Like I've never eaten. The way the post show, it's like you're in a frenzy. Like
Yeah.
you have to literally curb it. Like my partner's a type 1 diabetic, and when he has
Mm.
a hypo, it's like he's like I feel like I can't get enough. He's like I just have to keep going, and I have to stop him before he goes the other way and goes too high.
Mm.
Yeah,
Mm.
and that it sounds obviously that's probably a bit more extreme, but
Mm.
it's very similar to that. Like you feel like you can't stop, and you have
Yeah.
to exercise that same amount of discipline that you've had throughout your prep and your bodybuilding career to stop. But sometimes you can't. Like everything's amplified. Like your taste buds, the way things you can smell something from like a mile off. Like,
Oh
oh,
my
what's that?
God, yeah.
You can pinpoint it. You're like, who's eating fruitcakes?
Literally, someone is baking cinnamon buns on my estate.
Yes, yeah. Even things like I lived on black coffee. You get a latte, and you're like, oh,
Yeah,
it's like
so good.
it's literally like having an orgasm. You're like, oh my god, this is so good.
Amazing.
Like it's a laugh. I'm like, you don't understand.
You don't know,
Don't
yeah.
understand. You've been without it for so long, but I think sometimes like I would ride that wave a little bit. So I'd eat my meals, and then I'll get to a point where I'd have an off-plan meal. But you get so and my first prep, like I prepped myself for years initially, and my first ever prep, like I did that. I hauled it. I had like a cupboard
Mm.
full of like sweets and chocolates and like shit
Biscuits.
I've never even eaten biscuits in my
Yeah.
life, right?
Yeah.
And it's like I think it was like £250 worth of stuff. And like when I got to post show, I was competing in Birmingham, and it was one of the first like it was the Body Expo PCA,
Mm.
the first ever ones they did. And I did that show, and I took
Yeah.
this bag for life full of shit. That's all it was. It was shit.
Stop! I had a bag for life full of
Did
shit as
you?
well after my first show, yeah.
You
That's
just,
hilarious.
it's like Christmas has come at once. You're like dipping in. What's out? You got a cup of tea in the one hand. You've got
Yeah.
fucking, I don't know. You've got some coconut water or
Custom made
orange juice.
cookies as well. You're
You know,
putting
you're
them in the
dipping in.
tea.
You're there, and you're like, oh, and then
Good.
you've got this like you've got abs, but you're
Yeah.
bloated to shit. So you're like got
Yeah.
this turtle shell popping out. You look like one of the extended guts in the open, and
Oh
you're there.
yeah, I'm so bad.
But at the time, you're like, oh, it's fine. And then,
Yeah.
post show you finish, you're on this high, you've got all this
Mm,
adrenaline, you're excited, you've got all this food, and you're staying up
yeah.
until like 2 or 3 a.m. fucking eating. You're like, what the fuck's happened here? Like,
Yeah.
just like
And but
weird.
once you do that, it's regaining control after that,
Yeah, you're like, I've got to
because
stop. You've got to stop.
yeah, you
Yeah,
have to stop, but you don't want to because you've opened the floodgates. You've
yeah.
literally opened the floodgates. And the second, like, sugar is addictive, and we forget this because it's not alcohol, because it's not drugs. People forget that sugar is equally as addictive as those things, and food is addictive as well.
Mm,
So once you open the floodgates to all that sugar, you've got to fucking detox yourself.
yeah.
Like,
You feel
you that
awful after,
you
don't you?
feel
You feel like you've been out
awful.
on the piss or something.
Yeah, you have a
I'm
food
not even
hangover.
joking.
It's grim, mate. Like, it is so grim, and you feel puffy and minging and gross, and you're like, oh, I just want to get back on plan. And then the next day, the detox and the cravings are so high because you've just given yourself huge stimulus off that sugar.
Mhm.
The next day, you're like trying to get back on plan, but oh, I'll just have a little bit of this, and I'll
You
have a little
see
bit of
it,
that.
don't you? You're like, oh, I've worked really hard, and you're like, you get to that point where you're like, you've got to stop. Like I had at the time it was my sister. I was like,
Mm,
you've got to stop me. So I'll be eating something. She'd take it off, and I'm like, what the hell are you doing? She's like, you said you
yeah,
take it off. I was like, take it off me. But the first, I say the first 2 or 3 years, I got better, but I did that.
yeah,
And the last one I did, obviously, I've spoken about it. Obviously, I was an assisted
mm,
athlete. I took aldactone. Um, I was very lean, and then I literally came on my periods. I was literally just like I wanted everything. I just had to
yeah,
have it. So my rebound off that was quite bad, and I felt like I always kind of like I feel like I still carry a bit of that with me now because I rebelled and just did fuck all.
yeah,
I trained twice a week. I dropped so much size. Like I'm a lot smaller now, but I dropped so much size.
mm,
But now, like you said, I eat if I want to eat something, I'll eat it. Like I found a massive part of my life in bodybuilding is if I wanted to have like a bit of chocolate, which I rarely did, or you go and have like I don't know McDonald's or KFC or something like that. You
mm,
felt like I was almost on the lookout all the time. Like I didn't want people to judge me because I was eating
mm,
something different to what I was normally eating. So I felt like I could
yeah,
never really eat anything else apart from my set meals, which I did
mm,
anyway. And I always felt like, I couldn't show people that I couldn't do this because I don't want people to judge me and I don't want
yeah,
to go through why I'm doing it. But now, if I want to have a roast dinner, I'll eat a roast dinner. If I want to have a fucking Kit Kat or a chocolate covered digestive, I'm gonna eat it. Like
yeah,
I've done my time in food jail. I've done it, and
yeah,
I'm
literally, yeah,
I'm
literally,
enjoying myself. But again, you've got to just look at it and just think, right? Am I eating because I'm hungry or am I bored? Or do I need this? Or look at your training day. Like if you've got a
mm,
really high expenditure day, like we run now, like I run, and obviously like you do need carbohydrates to do that. That's your
yeah,
energy.
definitely,
So you need to think of that and consider timings for that. You've got to look at so many different things. But
yeah,
again, like I don't feel guilty for
for
eating what I
eating,
call more foods. Like I have so much more variety in my diet now. Whereas
yeah,
before, I think I massively damaged my microbiome from eating the
mm,
same thing day in day, and I loved it at the time. But now,
mm,
how much damage did I actually do? And it takes so long to get that back out. I couldn't eat like before I started bodybuilding. I made myself intolerant to dairy, and then that
yeah,
carried on throughout my career. Now I can eat cheese if I want to. I
yeah.
can do what I want because I've had to train it back up slowly. And, we what's wrong with food? I think that people demonize certain
The
foods now.
food thing's the worst thing. Like, it's the
People really
worst.
think you can't eat that. There's
So
food.
shit. When I first started competing and I was doing it as a hobby, I didn't I didn't care. I
Mm,
really didn't care. I was on prep. I was on it 100%. That was it. On it 100%. Off season, just did what I liked. I got all my protein in. I focused on my protein and my calories, but I just ate whatever I want and just made sure I did that. And then as I got more immersed into the industry, I
mm,
felt, and obviously I turned pro as well. I have felt more and more pressure that I needed to adhere to things 100% all the time, whether I was
yeah.
on prep or in off season. But what I found that I would do is even now I still eat a lot of the same things every day. I'm trying really hard to expand my food more in normal day-to-day life. For weekends, no problem. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like I have lots of flexibility, but in the week I want to be able to eat things that work in line with like my macros and good nutrients and all that. And
Yeah.
I'm doing well with it. But in prep, not in prep, when I was competing after I turned pro, I felt so much pressure to be 100% on it all the time that I did eat the same foods a lot of the time. But I would still have meals out and all that in the off season. But I
Mm.
never wanted to post it. I
Yeah.
never wanted to share it. I felt like I would get judged or
Yeah.
people would think less of me of an athlete for going out and enjoying my food and enjoying life. And I remember there would be times where I'd be like in the supermarket and like a small town where I live, and I'd like be, oh, I might get a little this, or I might get something from the bakery, and I'd want it,
Yeah.
and then I'd be like, oh my God, what if somebody who knows me sees me with a
Exactly.
fucking
Exactly. I had.
a cake in my basket, like it's a
Yeah.
cake, and in my head I'd be going, it's all right because they don't know that I'm potentially buying this for somebody else. So why
Exactly.
am I justifying that to myself? If I want a cake, get a cake. And
Yeah.
it wasn't, like I said, the first few years I competed when I was doing it as a hobby, and I wasn't, not that I wasn't taking it seriously because I was, but
Mm.
I wasn't perceived as being a serious athlete because I wasn't a pro.
Mm.
I felt less pressure. But then once I was a pro, it was like
It was like it's.
you have to be
Yeah.
on, and because a lot of pro athletes say that they're on it all the time.
Mm.
I don't know if they are, but they say that they are. You feel like you have to be at that standard too, but I'm like, I don't want to be that standard. I'm
No.
happy to be on it in prep, but I don't
Mm.
want to be in off season. I want to live my life. I want to enjoy it. And I think sometimes having such a distorted view of food and having so much judgment and pressure on you with your relationship with food and with prep and whatnot, that's where food, eating disorders develop. Like I got
Yeah.
a binge eating disorder after I won my pro card, and I will honestly say that was down to all the pressure of you need to be a pro, you need to act like a pro. So I try so hard to be on it 100% with my meal plan in the week, and then on the weekend I'd have a social event, and I'd be like, oh, I've got a social event, so that's okay for me to eat off plan because I'm doing this social event.
Yeah.
And then within that time that I was off plan, I'd be like, right, I've got to be on it again on Monday. Otherwise, I'm not a professional and I'm not going to be taken seriously. And my coach is going to be disappointed with me. So I'm going to eat whatever the fuck I want over the weekend.
Yeah.
And that would then, wouldn't be like a social event, and it would be a social event and some snacks after, then a social event and some snacks and the entire day off plan, and then it was the whole weekend off plan, and then it was like, oh well, I'll just creep some bits here and there into the week, and then before you know it, I had a binge eating disorder. I was consuming like well over 10,000 calories a day. I had absolutely no control. Oh, it was bad, mate. It was, but I gained 6 weeks post show, I think it was 12 kilos, 12.7
Bloody
actually.
hell! Did you get edema with that? Did you get a bit of like water retention and bloat and stuff with that, or?
Everything. It was all, like worst I've ever looked. Worst I'd ever looked. It was so bad. And it was like upon reflection of me starting, I remember what made me realize I had a problem was I was in the house. It was a Sunday. I was just coming back from the gym or whatever, and I'd already like pre-planned my binge. I was like, I'm gonna go to Morrison's on the way home. I'm gonna buy this, and this, all things I wanted, like brownies, cereal, crisps, like you
Yeah.
name it, I wanted it. And I was like, I'm gonna get all that shit on the way home. And I did. I got it on the way home. I got home. I had it all laid out on me. I had a film on. I was like, oh, it's going to be nice and cozy, because there's this weird pleasure that comes with the guilt and the shame.
Yeah.
And I'd like planned it all out, and I sat on my sofa with my cat and I ate everything, like the whole box of cereal, every single brownie that I had, like all of that. I'd got Mackey's as well delivered. Great. Like, they're absolutely zero
I'm
nutrients in
laughing because I've done the same thing.
yeah. And it was all for pleasure. And then I'd finished all that, which was probably over about 10,000 calorie max, something like that. And then I went around the house looking to see what was left, because it was a Sunday, supermarkets were closed. I was like, right, I'm going to eat these brioche buns with peanut butter on. Like I'm not even asked on peanut butter, and I'm not asked. I've never been a bread person. I don't really like eating bread. It's just not my thing.
Mm.
But it was that desperation for some sort of food to give me pleasure, because that's what I was seeking, that pleasure and that dopamine high. And I felt so guilty after, and afterwards I was like, you've got an issue, this isn't just, you know, a post-show rebound because you're 69 kilos or something and you're 20 kilos above stage weight. You've got absolutely zero control. You're not even 6 months post-show. There's a
Right.
problem here. And then I obviously went to therapy and started working on my own mindset and everything, and realized that I was tying a lot of it due to like my lack of self-worth and my lack of happiness within myself and challenging relationships that I was in at the time. And a lot of the time, you know, we lean on food for pleasure, and especially if you've got a very unhappy, you know, relationship with yourself and a very unhappy life and things aren't settled, that's, you know, we lean on it for comfort food, but to the extreme of binge eating disorder, it's giving you some sort of you're self-soothing with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what I was doing. And it's weird because when you mentioned before, like, sometimes you still have these feelings of eating and these feelings of leaning on food for pleasure and this binging. It's like, once you've had a binge eating disorder and once you've had a difficult relationship with food, I don't even think you need to have a eating disorder for the behaviors to still be prevalent within you. And
Yeah.
I still feel them in the back of my mind sometimes when I'm eating something nice. There's still this little niggling, like, binge eating, which is like, you could eat 10,000 calories worth of this
So
right
much
now.
like, yeah, ebbs you on, doesn't it? But
Yeah,
it's good that you recognize that, because I think so many people just, they will let it
yeah.
go unchecked, and they'll use it as an excuse, like, oh, you know,
Mm.
I've dieted this long, I can do this, I'm allowed to do that. And it is, I think it is a rebellious stage with it, where, you
Yeah.
know, like, even now, like, I can eat this, I'm not prepping, and I shouldn't eat it, but I do. And you know, you like,
Mm.
you do check yourself, and sometimes it's there. And I think, again, that's a huge risk with what you know, the bodybuilding competition, like the competing side of it.
Yeah.
You either get people that are so good at it because they've had like anorexia or
Yeah.
bulimia or stuff like that. And then, you know, I remember speaking to a woman who's actually now a very prevalent female coach within the UK
Mm.
and beyond. And I prepped alongside her very early years, like back in like 2015, 2016.
Hmm.
And we were doing the same type of show, and she would overeat on her preps, and then she would purge. And she told me this, and I said, you shouldn't. I said, like, you need to stop doing that.
Yeah.
But she kept doing that, and she came in lean and stuff, but she would eat and then she would purge. And I said, I said, that's, you know, getting to the
Not
point
good.
where you shouldn't be doing that. I said, you need to
That's,
get some help.
yeah.
But she,
And
do you know
it's,
what? She might still do it, maybe not. But I think it's one of those things where I don't think a lot of people see what goes on behind it. So you develop disorders, or people
yeah,
that, like, you'll see some athletes that do so well because they've had that
because they are, yeah, they have a disorder. Yeah.
and they
Literally,
do
because,
it. It's reinforcing it, and they're like, oh, I'm like, you need to be so careful when you start this. I said, because if you start it with that in mind, you
mm,
could go back to where you were. I was
yeah,
like, it's because it's bodybuilding, it's competing, doesn't mean you're not at higher risk
yeah.
of going backwards and
Yeah.
regressing.
I always say bodybuilding lean is anorexia levels of body fat
Hmm.
with muscle. And I know
Yes.
that anorexia doesn't always, you know, reflect on the body, like it's mental disorder, so you're not always going to be, you know, really really skinny and you know, very very lean. But what I'm saying is that the level of body fat you have to get to is often, you know, reflected in
Yeah.
patients that do have anorexia, and
Mm.
are too, you know, really really extreme levels of body fat. But you have to be so mentally strong to not fall down that hole once you're there.
Yeah.
Because I think people get there, they get very, very lean, they get shredded, and then they want to stay there. And that's when they start to exhibit these behaviors that can go in line with eating disorder, you know,
Yeah.
mental illnesses and challenges and difficulties. So it's a very fine line between, you know, a competitive sport that you know, you get to the goal, you get shredded and you get out, because it is,
Yeah.
that's how I used to see it. I like, I'm here and then I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm lean and then I'm out.
And I
Going
made
back
them
to
up.
normal. Yeah, exactly. And that's how you have to see it. Like, you're in, you're out, boom, done, job done, tick the box. But
Yes.
some
Yeah.
people will get in and then want to stay in, and it's like, if you're trying to stay in there, that's not good. Like,
Yeah.
that's going to affect you mentally, physically. It's going to spiral you and have an impact on your health. So you do have to be so strong, and you've got to be willing to let go of being lean, and you've got to be self-aware. The main thing is you're self-aware, and you're willing to reflect on these things in when you're in this industry. Like, I never would have got over that binge eating disorder, which obviously still plays a little part in the back of my head, but I
Yeah.
never would have got through it if I didn't have the self-awareness to go, you need to get help, and
Yeah.
you need to reflect on this, and you need to take control of your behaviors to work through it. Otherwise, God knows, where I'd be now.
Yeah, and that's so important. I think, like you said, it's the having that self constraint, and
Mm.
it's planning those phases as well. Not just being like, right, I'm going to prep and go and do this show, and then there's nothing after. Like, you don't know what you're doing. You've got to have that structure after. Know
Mm.
how it's going to go. What's the next thing on there? And even if it's a small goal in between, and that person doesn't want to
Yeah.
compete again. They have to have goals to go to, because
Yes.
it's so dangerous living in that lean state, because even though you might feel like shit, but it's the it comes back to the question: is who you doing it for yourself, or are you doing it for external validation? If you're doing it
Yeah.
for external validation, you live in that lean phase and you get all this, wow, you look amazing, you've got that dopamine hit and you live on that high and you love that
Mm.
attention, you will stay there just for
Yeah.
that. However, if you're
Attention.
doing it for yourself, you'll be like, right, I'm done here. I know where the next step is. I'm coming out now. Like you said, I'm
Yeah.
in, I'm coming out.
I'm out.
And
Exactly.
I think now you'll see a lot of it where people are not doing it for themselves. They're doing it for the external validation. They want to look lean. They want to appease other people. They want to seem like they're like these solid, disciplined people. But
Yeah.
inside, they're crumbling down inside, and there's so much
Yeah.
stuff going on that we can't see. Like, we would know as
Yeah.
experienced investors, but they're living there, and then they're promoting that, and they're like, they're like these pretty, like, slim girls. They've got a bit of muscle, they look great, and everyone aspires to be them. And then they get all these people come through the net of like, oh, I want to look like you. What do you do? Oh, I do this. But really what they're promoting isn't actually what they're doing, and they're
Mm.
giving this false kind of there's a veil that's up that they're giving
Facade.
this
Yeah.
false, yeah, and that's not what they're doing. And then they get these girls to do what they're doing, really.
Mm.
And they're like, well, this is what I have to do to achieve this. Like, I have to suffer, and I have to feel
Yeah.
like shit, and I have to do all these things because I want to look like this. And there
Mm.
is we know there's another way to it. 100% there's
Yeah.
another way to it. If you're not chasing really extreme amount of muscle mass, you're not going to compete. You don't want to be a pro. Why the fuck are you doing that to yourself? Like,
Yeah.
we know when to duck out. I knew when to duck out. I never
Mm.
changed my pro status because I knew what I had to do as a women's physique. I knew what I had to do to get there, and I just was not willing to do it. Like,
Yeah.
I'd hit my ceiling. When I started, I set a ceiling to where I would go with
Yeah.
PEDs, pushing myself how I felt, and I hit a ceiling, and I
Yeah.
was like, I'm done. I quit. My retiring age was actually 32, which I am now. I
Mm.
retired. What would it have been? So 2022. So I retired well beyond that.
Yeah.
I stopped because I'd already hit the ceiling. It was even age. It's like when your car goes in for a service. It's either the
Yeah.
mileage or the time, right? And I so my mileage, I've already hit my mileage at that point. I
Yeah.
was like, I'm not doing it now, because
Yeah.
women that beat me, I beat her 3 weeks before. And the
Mm.
woman that beat me, and if she's listened to this, I'm sorry. When she beat me, I was not willing to look
Mm.
like that. I was not the
Yeah.
physique. I was not willing to push the facial structure and the changes and
Mm.
the virilization that came from it. I'm lucky to get away with what I got away with.
Yeah.
Like, for me, like, and I'll be 100% transparent. Like, I had maybe like a couple of like little hairs come up on my chin.
Mm.
And maybe I would say maybe like a little bit of deepening in my voice, ever so slightly.
Mm.
But other than that, like, nothing bad actually happened. Like, I've had the
Yeah.
ECGs in my heart. I've had my bloods done. Like, everything else is fine. But because I
Yeah.
didn't push past it,
That.
but
Yeah.
and yeah, and you got to get to a point where, like, I don't regret what I did. That's what I wanted to do at the time. But I think, like you said before, you have to be so mentally switched on with, like, how far you're willing to go with it, and
Yeah.
what you're willing to do, because you can get so engrossed in it and you lose track. Like, you'll see some people that, if we spoke about a particular bodybuilder before our podcast, we
Mm.
won't mention names, and they think that they still look feminine. They're still like,
Mm.
they're okay. But you look at them, and other people look, and they don't realize what they've done, because when you're looking at yourself every single day in the mirror, you
Yeah.
don't see these subtle changes. Whereas
Yeah.
you look at they're so subtle bit by bit, and then you'll see them and you're like, fucking hell. Like, you see that person 3 months later and they look different. They've
They're so different. It's
transitioned.
like prep. It's like prep though.
Yeah.
In prep, you don't think you've changed, and then before you know, you're absolutely shredded. But it's the same with when if you're putting compounds in your body that are going to change you, that are going
Yep.
to change you ever so slightly, over a period of time. But
Mm.
before you know it, 12 months has passed, and who you were at the beginning of that 12 months and who you are at the end are very, very different in your whole look. And that's when it's too late. When the changes have happened, it's too late. And one thing I will say as well, since I've taken a step back and I actively tried to lose muscle in my delts, bear in mind, I am natural too.
Yeah.
Losing muscle, not
Hard.
easy.
It's
Not
hard.
easy at all. It's hard. Like, I've literally been training my upper body only a little bit more since the beginning of this year. Swear to God, the back. Literally back.
It's
And it's so hard. So if you do push to that level of muscle, naturally or assisted, and you
hard.
get there, just remember getting rid is probably going to be quite difficult too.
And I can vouch for that. Like, I still, like, I've got way more body fat now. Like, I want to shrink my arms down massively, but because
Mm,
they naturally, they just grow, they get massive. That's just
mm,
my genetics. And I like training upper body, so I'm having to restrict myself because I'm between, I want to be fit, strong, and functional, but I
yeah.
don't want to grow. So what I'm doing is like things like pull-ups, and I'm doing things like press ups and rows and things. So I'll still do that, but I do no direct arm work because I just
Mm,
cannot. It's things like that, so it does stay with you. Like, I think, like, I got very muscular quite quickly naturally when I started, uh,
mm,
and then I realized I wanted to go bigger. So I was like, right, I'm just gonna do it. I'm just gonna do it.
mm.
And for me, like, you do see a difference quite quickly, but you have to be so careful with the changes because some things are like irreversible. Like voice changing is irreversible. Like
Yeah.
when I started taking a certain compound, like my voice went a little bit, and then I stopped taking it because I was like, you can pull it back
Don't.
if you're quick.
Yeah.
If you're
Yeah.
quick. If you if you've got a full Adam's apple, your voice is like, gone down to a point where you sound like bloody, I don't know who's got the deepest voice in the world. I don't know, one of the narrators that do the games. Let's say that, yeah. And you've got a fucking square jaw, you've got hooded eyelids, you look like a Neanderthal, I'm sorry. But
Mm.
you've got to the point where you have completely changed the structure of who you are. I think if it's done that to your bone structure, like you get like
That's
neuroplasticity, like
crazy.
your brain chemistry changes also.
Yeah.
So all these things, and then you've also got like the neurotoxicity as well. So there's all of that. Plus you've got, people think of like skeletal muscle. Yes, that grows, but you've also got smooth muscle which changes.
Mm.
You've got a heart which is muscle. So you've got to think of all these different changes that go on.
Things. Yeah.
It's mind blowing because when you're in it, you're like, I just want to look bigger, leaner, stronger, and you see the external effects of it, but no one really. I know there's blood work and stuff going on, and you see these people like promoting bodybuilding, like, yeah, you can do it safely. Like, fuck off, okay? None of it's safe. If you're putting exogenous
No.
hormones in your body, and you, especially as a female, we're talking about here, it's not
Yeah.
safe. It
Yeah.
compounds. It doesn't go in and then it goes out your body. It
Yeah.
compounds and compounds and compounds, and eventually what you're doing is you're putting yourself through a male puberty. Yeah, so you have to be so careful. I don't know if you saw, if you follow Brett Contreras. Do you follow him, the glute guy?
I do. I look at his stuff sometimes, not always though, so I might have missed this.
So he put up a reel the other day, and there's
Mm.
a female surgeon in the US that specializes now
Yeah.
in clitoral
I
surgery.
did see that. I
You see
did
that?
see that.
Right?
Yeah, I
Because
did.
it's actually become so prominent in the industry where these women have basically, they've essentially grown an
A
appendage,
mini
right?
penis.
Yeah, they got a penis. They could sword fight with their boyfriend if they wanted to. They've got it there. They've got it.
Oh
They could do a
God.
stand up wee if they wanted to, I guess.
That's awful.
It's
It's
just-
so bad.
but
But no, but honestly,
there's a niche
it,
for it now. There's a
yeah.
niche. Think of the complications that go on with that. Think of like, the damage that it can do. Like, is it still going to be as like as sensitive? Is it still going to work
Yeah.
the way it did before? Like,
Well, it's
it's
fertility as well, isn't it? Not even just like
yeah.
obviously eh, clits are one thing, but fertility as well. Like
Oh, it
it's
fucks people
so
up.
many different things are affected, and it's like I just think the thought process I've always had with it, which is why I've never gone assisted,
Mm,
is I'm not going to do this forever. It's going to be temporary. Am I happy in how I look? Do I like my body? Do I
yeah.
feel feminine? That's it.
Yeah.
And I'm very weird about putting that sort of like putting anything in my body. Really, I'm a bit like, "Ugh, I wouldn't
Mm.
want to do anything. I don't know what it is. Like I don't know what's in that. And it freaks me out because like I've got lots of friends who are assisted in the industry. I'm part of the bodybuilding industry. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Majority of my mates are.
Yeah, because they are.
But
That's what it's like.
exactly. But from that, I see how much of a guessing game it is with this stuff. How you've got to find a reputable source from somewhere,
Yeah, yeah.
and it's usually Mike down the gym or whatever,
This
which
black
is,
bag of shit.
yeah,
Tip it.
exactly. And it's like God knows where it's made. God
Mm.
knows what's actually in it. The bottle might be clear this time and yellow next time, and then you have to decide your own prescription for it and that amount that you think is a safe amount. And I'm like, you are literally creating a cocktail of substances that you don't know what really it is in hope that you're going to develop a bit of muscle and you're going to grow from it and you're
Mm.
going to come in conditioned. And that's why I've always thought like it's not something I would ever want
Yeah.
to go near because it's playing with fire. And I'd be gutted if I woke up one day and I looked more manly in the face,
Yeah.
or my voice got deeper,
Mm.
or I had a clit that looked like a dick. I'd be gutted. I
Yeah.
would. And knowing that I'd done that to myself and there was nothing I could do, because like even when I decided, oh, I think I don't want to do bikini anymore, I was like, "Ugh, my delts are massive and I want them to come down a bit and
Mm.
I want to be a bit smaller in that sense." And I remember being like, oh, I need to bring that down and that's gonna take work. And luckily, like I say, muscle is really hard to lose,
It
but not
is.
impossible. It can be done. And I have
Yeah.
lost a bit of size, which I'm happy with, and I really like how I
You
look.
look
And I'm like, yeah,
awesome. I saw
thanks,
your
babes.
your functional ones. I was like, that's what I want to look like.
Yeah.
I'm trying to like. I was tiny when I started. I was like 40 kilos or something like that. I mean, I was probably underweight to be fair because I was running all the
Mm.
time. But I want to be a lot smaller than what I am now. But I just want to be fucking strong. I want to be like a
Eh,
spider. I want to climb up walls and like do
yeah.
combat. I want to do all this kind of
I
stuff.
want to be
But
a powerhouse, mate. That's the
that's what
goal.
exactly. And I'm like,
You want me
oh
to
no,
run a
what?
10K right now?
Let's
BME,
go, let's
be
go.
back.
But you know what? I hadn't run in 12 years. And like I went out
Yeah,
running. I was like, I fucking am strong at running now because I've got the muscle there.
the
But
muscle.
it's the thing of like I want it now. I'm like I want to be smaller now. And like I have to rejig my brain now because I'm used to just build, 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 bigger, bigger,
Yeah,
bigger.
it's so
And now I'm
hard.
like it's tougher. Like I have to accept it's going to take me time to like I used to be like 85 kilos at my peak. I think I'm
Mm,
like down to like 70 now, so I am dropping,
mm,
but it's taking time and I'm doing it sustainably. I'm not trying to rush it. Like even though I want to be smaller, like I don't want
mm.
to be skinny. I want to be small and muscular. I want to be like
Do you want to be
not.
petite?
I do. I want to be small. I want to
Yeah.
be fit. I've got all these clothes. I've got these fucking sick leather jackets. I want to get back into. I put one on the other day. Put it on. Ripped through the bloody lining, didn't I? Like,
Yeah.
oh, Jesus Christ. I moved like, I was like, "Get that out of here." But I'm
Yeah.
even to the point now, like after this, I'm gonna do like a cull. I'm gonna go through all my clothes and I'm
Mm,
chucking out all the bigger sizes because I don't want to wear it. I don't even want it to be a thing. I want it to be like I want to get back into like I think I'm like a 14 to 16 on top at the minute, and I want to drop
mm,
that down. I used to be a size 6 at one point. I've got to be
mm.
comfortable. I want to get between like an 8 or a 10, whatever. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But you've got to look at the things like the long term effects on it, and the profound effects that it has on you because these women, and like I can say this from an experience, it fucks with your head. And
Mm.
the women that have gone through this where they've got facial hair, that I saw a video of this woman the other day that was properly shaving and you heard it go and that's promoted on socials like this is what you have to
Yeah.
go through. Like no you fucking don't.
Yeah.
Like do that is depressing. Imagine coming off that, you've got no hair, you've lost all your
Mm,
hair, you've
mm.
literally got facial hair, your jaw is like a bloke's jaw, you've also got hooded eyebrows, your voice is deep, your skin integrity changes, like your skin looks
Yeah,
horrendous.
I see that. That's
it it,
scary,
look,
that.
it almost looks like thicker, like
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah. Yeah.
weird. Do you know what I mean? It's
No, I know
thicker.
100% what you mean. It's like it's dense.
It's
It's
yes,
like
dense.
dense, and it looks quite rough as well,
Like
doesn't it?
almost like a man. I know men can have soft skin, but almost like a man's skin.
Mm,
And that
hmm.
sounds
Yeah.
we are different. Like whether you want the well,
Yeah,
whatever.
that's the reality.
You know, you
Yeah.
can't if a bloke takes gear and he gets a bit of extra stubble and his voice becomes a bit more husky and you know he's walking around all the time wanting to like hump everything. Yeah, brilliant. That's a man. But if you're
Mm,
like that and you change, you know, like you said, I got to the point where I literally thought about where, like, I could envision where I would end up, and I
mm.
was not prepared to do it. Like, I escaped, and I will use that word very luckily. I have good head of hair. I don't have hair all over my face. My voice isn't like a prepubescent 12-year-old boy. I hope it's not anyway. Um, and you know, I feel like I didn't come out too bad because again, I didn't do stupid shit. Like
Yeah,
I knew what I was doing, I knew what I got into. Like you said, sometimes it's a gamble, but you got to get to the point where you're like, I'm not going to do this. And
yeah.
it's like one of those things. Like I tried to go back, and I wanted to go back as a natty. Like this is my fourth year as a natural person now, which I'm
Mm,
like I'm chuffed with. But it's one of those things where you know we've gone to shows and we've gone to natural shows like out supporting our clients.
mm.
We've seen like I'm just going to call it what it is. It's fucking injustice
Yeah.
towards these athletes that are going in natural and the shows are promote like there was a huge thing about it where one of these coaches was promoting the regional and putting their client in there when they're taking things like clenbuterol and anavar because they knew they're not
Mm.
good. And I remember seeing you at one of these shows which we won't mention and I said
Human, mate.
fucking before your athletes went in, I did like I know my client was saying stuff as well because she was pissed off, and I was like, be careful because they're not testing everyone here. You know, some people have paid for the testing, some people haven't,
Yeah,
and then you see the people that are winning, and you're like, it, they're not like you
yeah.
can tell an
There
assistant.
are absolutely athletes, yeah, where you can tell, and people will say, "Oh, well, you don't know for sure." When you've been in this industry for a long
No,
period of time, that it's clear in some athletes who is assisted. Now, don't get me wrong, there are athletes too that don't look like they're assisted and are assisted,
yeah, yeah,
but but it but you can there are telltale signs,
yeah.
and I think when what I hate about this more than anything is there are the industry is saturated with assistants. There are lots of people that are assisted, majority. So opportunities for natural athletes are small. Like we don't have loads of them. So when we get them, that's a great opportunity for somebody to really excel as a natural athlete within the industry, within their federation of choice, which is fantastic. But to put in an athlete who isn't actually natural and to cheat the system and put them into a natural show when they have no end of open shows to do is just wrong. And what annoys me is, if you're an athlete and you choose to do that, do you think that you're not quite good enough to do well in the open shows, but you're good enough to beat a natty? Like
Yeah.
that mindset is just fucked, mate. And I
It's
cannot bear it. I
it's
can't bear it.
it's and the thing is as well like you get these like we saw like the messages and things sort of that
Mm,
were disclosed of this coach that was promoting, don't worry, just take this, you know, because they're promoting that show. It's
yeah.
fucked. It's absolutely fucked because these athletes go through so much and they're so some of them are so stringent, you know, you have to
Mm,
go through WADA and you have to look what you can and can't take for certain feds, and
yeah.
they are strict, some of them, which is brilliant, but you get other ones that are like, you know, do all this, do a whole natural prep, go in, and then they don't. And the thing is, they didn't even test the
Yeah.
athlete that looked assisted. They tested a random one to say, nope, they're fine, they're natural, but not
Yeah.
even the one that looked assisted. And guess what? That one won. Of course they did. And
Yeah.
people were like, oh no, you're just being bitten. It's not. It's really
I
not. But
don't care. I literally
I
don't
don't give a
care.
shit either. I
Yeah,
hate
I
it.
don't
I
care.
absolutely hate it because predominantly I've prepped natural athletes predominantly most. I've
Mm,
had a few assist ones here and there, but predominantly natural because
mm,
it's I like it. I don't want to deal with all the bullshit of PEDs and what happens. You've got to counteract this. It's bullshit. So you're
mm.
prepping these natural people. You know how much they're going down to like to the point where they're like, can I use this pre-workout? Can I use
Yeah,
this? You know, you have to be so strict with it, and they do it,
yeah,
and they get there, and they look amazing, and then some fucking fake natty comes in
yeah.
and takes it, and you're just like,
It's
what? And this is horrible
infuriating.
for the athletes because
Yeah,
they're like, what's the point? What is the
literally.
point? You'll get a
It's so
few natural
disheartening.
athletes. You'll get some natural athletes that are literally like the 1%, insane genetics. They will smash people. They go into like the open ones and smash them with the assisted people at the park.
Yeah.
But
Love
you know,
that.
I love it as well. And they're like, no, they're definitely assisted. They're not. Okay, just lost. But it's always that way around. But it's the fact of these the natural federations, let's call them, that promote it, and then they don't even stick to it's such a basic guideline. And the shows, you go there. We've been to these shows many times.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah.
I could
Shocking.
let my dog run that show better.
Yeah, it's shocking. It is just like it's so disappointing because it what annoys me is it just tells me it's just all money orientated.
Oh, of course it is.
And that's what I hate because there are great federations out there that
Mm.
promote shows for natural athletes, and they're incredibly run, and they're enjoyable, and they test well, and I love that. But there are also federations that say they're for natural athletes, but then actually they're not really. It's just a promotion to get more people to come and do the show, and
Mm.
then if you are assisted, you can probably sneak in anyway, don't worry.
It's a facade, isn't it? Like the whole
Yeah.
thing is literally it's for athletes
Mm.
that are so shit assisted that they have to come in and take it away from someone that's literally used nothing because, like you
Yeah.
said, they're not as good. They're not as good to beat the other assisted athletes, and they're shit. And or it'll backfire on them sometimes because the naturals will beat them.
Yeah, yeah, literally, like, and it's just so, it just makes me so angry. Like, it just makes me so angry because when I've got clients and they are leaning on diet and training and cardio and that's it, and they are stressing about the fact that like you say, they've had a pre-workout that they think's illegal,
Yeah,
and they're going into their show and they've got a polygraph to do, and they're like, oh, I've got this polygraph, but what if it thinks I'm lying when I'm not? And
yeah,
they're getting anxious just about a polygraph, and they're 100% nutty, and then somebody's just going in and being like, oh yeah, I came off Clen or whatever it is, yeah, 2 weeks ago, and I'm just gonna wing it, and then they win. I'm like, are you actually joking me? Like, because I won my pro card in a natural show, and I was buzzing, love, like, a
yeah.
great
It's an
opportunity,
insane
and it was
achievement.
amazing.
Mm.
But that easily could have been an assisted athlete, a secretly assisted, a fake natty athlete on that stage, who could have taken that opportunity from me, and they shouldn't have been up there. Do you know what I mean? They didn't belong. I got tested after that straight away, which was like, I'll take
Yeah,
that. I appreciate
that's good.
that.
It's a reinforcement for you to say, like, I've
Yeah.
done it naturally. Yeah,
Exactly. I
there's
got
no
tested
dispute.
straight away, and I was like, mint, yeah, love that. But then since then, that was obviously 2022. Since then, I feel like things haven't been as what's the word? Strict.
Stringent and strict. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly,
100%.
exactly.
I don't think so either. I think
So,
it's just a piss. I think it's a massive piss take, and like I personally don't feel like aside from like one federation that's just come over here, I don't feel like any of these other natural ones can truly be naturally run because they reward. You can tell they reward the enhanced ones. You can tell
mm,
every time, and the
mm,
problem is when these fake natties, they're very like some of them are quite well known. If their name pops up on the thing, that your client already knows, or these other natural athletes know that they're not
yeah,
going to win. They know they're
yeah,
not going to win because
and
that
that's always, yeah, and they feel disappointed by that, and they feel like giving up, and that makes me sad as well because I'm like, and then so I've just thought of something else that really annoys me.
say it, say it,
What's that?
say it.
um People that aren't open about being, or no, I won't say that because you are entitled to your own privacy and whatnot, which is fine,
Mm.
but people that claim they're natty in their transformations on social media when they're not, and
Oh,
will put that out there, and then other naturals will look at it and be like, well, I'm not making that amount of progress in that
yeah,
time, and I'm like, oh mate, because they're not natural and they're lying.
they're natural liars, that's for sure. But
Yeah.
honestly, it's like a little bit off topic. It's like people that are using these fucking GLPs and they've never lost weight over the past 10 years. And then all of a sudden they've lost weight, and people are like, oh, have you done that? Oh well, I followed my diet. Fuck off! You've gone
Yeah.
on a GLP in two
Yeah.
weeks, and like because it's an appetite suppressant, and also at the same
Mm.
time you're losing your bone density and your bone mass,
Yeah.
and now you're going to be more prone to all these fucking different diseases and osteoporosis.
Exactly.
It's
Exactly.
so warped, And that's
Again,
the
the social
like
media though, isn't it?
people are consuming this, and they're literally like they don't have like a chance in hell to even get themselves started with anything. And it's like
Yeah.
this stuff is so unsustainable and it's unachievable for so many people. But they're like, yeah, but this person wouldn't lie. They're an influencer. I'm like, they are the fuckers that will lie the most. They
Yeah.
are trying to sell you stuff. They will
Yeah.
they will lie through their teeth to get you on board and sell you their coaching or their
Exactly.
or whatever product they're selling or supplement, because that is how they make money. Like
Yeah.
to an extent, like you've got people that care in this industry, like you care, I care, but
Mm.
you've got people that don't, and they all they want is your money. Like
Yeah.
they literally don't care about. They'll pretend. Like you've even got people that are responding to check-ins with fucking Chat GPT. I mean, come on, like
Oh my God.
honestly, what is happening? What is?
So bad. I saw somebody in a Facebook group the other day saying that they were checking in, and their coach wasn't really messaging them or talking to them, yeah, and
I
then
think
was
it's the
like
same
replying. It
time.
might have been, yeah. I mean, I think it got a lot of responses on it, and then they were like, they knew that their responses were through ChatGPT, and they were like, oh, and I know that it's AI responding, and I don't really mind. And I thought, well, you fucking should
What are you
mind, mate,
paying for?
because you're paying for that person.
Yeah, what the fuck? I mean, honestly, like a check-in, the more detailed the better. Some check-ins 3 minutes if they take that because nothing to say. But like
Mm.
some like you do like a video check-in or a voice note, and even if you're gonna fucking text it back, put some effort into it.
Effort
Like
into it.
what the fuck? I don't
Be
understand.
reflective. Yeah.
And these people are getting like clients in left, right, and center, but they're doing it like they're not even using their fucking brain anymore. Like there's nothing going on,
Yeah.
and you're like
Feel it.
it's mad. Like I
It's
like
sorry, you go. I'm off on one now, mate.
no, this is what I'm saying. This podcast will be like 10 hours fucking
I'm
long. Like
so sorry. An hour
no,
and a
no,
half.
no, it's
Sorry,
good
guys.
though. No, they'll enjoy it. But this is the problem. There's so many people, and there's so many. You get all these people that are just so vulnerable to it, but they're not
Mm.
aware. They're like, "Oh, this is normal." It's not. That's not normal. Like
Yeah.
none of that. If something in your gut feels bad, don't say it's normal.
Listen.
Challenge it. Listen to it.
Yeah. Listen to it, because there's coaches in this industry. There are great coaches. They care about their clients. They put a lot of effort in. They're amazing, but there are a lot of salesmen out
Yeah,
there.
charlatans. They're everywhere. They are
That will
businessmen and women. Like they're selling you, like
they're selling you the dream of coaching, and they're not actually showing up as your coach, and then I see it all the time. They're like in the DM. I get them myself. I'm like, mate, I'm a coach. Why are you
yeah.
cold DMing me to join you for
Hey,
coaching, mate? Like,
you want to scale this up? No, fuck off.
yeah, sod off. Like, sod off. And that's the thing, like, it's very much become a sales industry where it's just
Yes.
about who can sell the most, how many clients can you sell to and have them on board, but they're not actually care about the service you're providing.
Mm,
And they're like, I see it all the time with these mentors. You can earn 10 grand a month, but it's like 10 grand a month for people that you're scamming money out of to pay for 6 months up front, and they're not delivering on the 6 months
yeah.
of coaching that you're going to perform.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
stop. And then I've had it before where people are like, oh, I just don't know if, like, they'll inquire to work with me, and they're like, oh, I just don't know because I had this coach before and I paid and then I just never heard of them. And I'm like, it's shit because you've been stung by a bad experience, when actually a coach can change your life
Mm,
if you have one that is genuine and cares. But if you're getting on a call with somebody and they're trying to make you make a 6 months upfront payment on that call there and then, they probably don't really care.
no. And that's the thing. Like you've got to like it takes so long to get people to trust you as well. And
Yeah.
and like you said, you'll get one person that's a bad egg in the industry, and they'll fuck it for everyone else. And then people are scared to inquire. They're scared to talk and ask things because as soon
Yeah.
as they ask, they're like, "Yeah, sign up, do this,
You
this,
get a
this."
sales pitch. Yeah.
Oh my god, piss off! Like it's like don't get me wrong, we all want new clients in. That's our
Yeah.
job. That's our coaching. But we like
Yeah.
it's. I remember having a business coach. He's like, you need to do 50 DMs a day. I was like, I'm not fucking
Oh
doing
my God. Yes, I literally had one once thinking, oh, they'll help me learn how to manage and run my business more
it. Yeah,
efficiently, to be a better coach and to get more clients. Obviously,
yeah.
that's the aim of the game. That's why you hire them.
Mm,
You need to be having 50 conversations a day, DMing 100 people. You
yeah,
need to be commenting. You need to be following everyone on Instagram. And I'm like, mate, I want people to work with me because they want to work with me. I don't want to force someone
Yeah,
into
yeah.
working with me because I've blagged them to the point that they feel trapped and they
Mm,
have to go in and then it was like doing all my coaching was in like PowerPoint forms, and I'll just basically try and coach them all at once, and I'm like, no, that's not what I want to do.
right.
Like, mate, yeah.
You
Oh,
know what?
Jesus.
It's nice though because there's just so much shit to it all, and I don't think people realize what you're up against because it's so people are like, oh, it's X amount billion-pound
Yeah,
industry a year, so it's not saturated because you can still make that money, but it's saturated with people that genuinely don't want, like you said, it's a business pitch they're selling to you. They are literally going on how much money they could, like I said. I'm not going to lie. I want to make as much money as I can. Brilliant. But I also want to do it with delivering a good service and actually
yeah,
getting results. I don't want
yeah,
to do it by ramming it down their throat and saying, you must sign up with me, blah, 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 blah. It's
yeah,
one of those things where if they want to, they're welcome to sign up.
yeah.
Like, I rarely put out like CTAs and stuff because I like to
Mm,
get as much as I can. And then if someone wants to sign up, it's cool, they sign up. But
maze, yeah,
it's one of those things where like people are constantly on, and you're like, can you just no, everyone's just completely like they've seen it so much they don't want to
yeah.
trust anyone anymore because
No,
it's like it's everywhere. It's everywhere.
literally,
It's like the
it is.
business coaching stuff. Like I constantly get sent messages by people,
Me
and I'm like,
too.
look, mate, if I want help, I will reach out to you. Don't
I will
worry.
find somebody, yeah, and it probably won't be you in
It
my
would be
DMs.
you. Yeah, come out. Oh, you're still. You should be
Yeah,
doing this. And you go on.
yeah.
You're like, it's a picture of them like posing in like somewhere in Dubai, and you're like, oh fuck.
Oh my God, I knew you were going to say Dubai. Yeah.
It is there, isn't it?
It always is.
It's fucking everywhere all the time. They're like they. I saw your post you put up like with how
Yeah,
fake it is over there. And you see
yeah.
people like posing next to fucking G wagons and stuff like that. I'm like, is that even
I
yours?
look
Like,
at it and I'm like, rented, or did you get a collaboration from the company? Because I got
yeah,
approached too.
mm,
Yeah.
mad. Like, no one. It's so fake, and that like we can do another episode on this shit, but it's just there's so much crap, and the thing is like. I think that women and like people like yeah, it does happen to men as well, of course, but we're
Mm,
focusing on women. There's so much out there, and like the ethics of it is just mad. I don't
yeah.
understand like what's happened. It's just out of control now. Like
Yeah.
it's everyone literally, like I said before, everyone's a bodybuilder, and they start preaching all this shit to people. And I'm like,
Mm,
I saw a post go up the other day, and I actually did a video about it, which I'm going to post on my grid because why the fuck not?
yeah.
I'm all about rebelling.
Yeah.
Um, and it was this post where like people are like, oh, you're slating bodybuilding, and like it was like a text from like can't remember what the coach's name is now, and all these people were sharing it, saying like bodybuilding's giving you this. People were like, slating it, saying X, Y, and Z. I'm like, look, like before you even share something like this, right?
Mm,
Have your fucking skin in the game. Do a prep and achieve
mm,
it, do it, compete
mm,
multiple times, do it over a decade or so, do it
mm,
5, 10, 15 years,
mm.
then share it and have an opinion on it. Until then, keep your mouth shut,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, and don't share stuff because yes, like bodybuilding gave me so much struggle. I owe it so much. However,
Me too.
yeah, exactly. However, it that did have some very damaging effects on me.
Too, yeah.
And also, it's got very damaging effects on women now because now everyone wants to be a competitor. Like they'll go in the gym and they're not even setting up a foundation. Like you push your natural capacity to where it is. Then if you decide,
Yeah,
actually, I want to be better. Then you look into it. If that's what you want
yeah,
to do, you go beyond and you keep going, right?
yeah,
Now they're in, they get a coach. The coach says, right, if you want to be the best, you take these compounds, you do this, and you stick with it. If you're
yeah,
not pushing hard enough, you're not good enough, you're not disciplined enough, you're not strong enough, you're not going to be the best if you don't do
yeah.
this. And
Hmm.
the people that were sharing it, like they've done like a cut and not finished their cut, or they've never stepped
Yeah.
on stage, and I'm like, you cannot have an opinion on something you know nothing about. Like all you look at is these people you're watching on social media.
Mm.
You don't know anything about it, and until then, have an opinion. That really pisses me off when you get these people sharing it and they have no clue,
Yeah.
no
I think
clue.
it's that sharing misinformation. And
Yeah,
again, I think the more people are sharing misinformation and the more people that are sharing these opinions and these views, it's then sharing that to other people that are going to intake that and are going to think the same thing, or again not feel good enough by how they're showing up, or feeling inadequate as well. So it's this toxicity, and that's the thing that's wrong with the industry, in my opinion, is the toxicity within it, which is exactly one of the reasons why I chose to and not
It's
only retire but also just take a step back. Like, I just don't want to be immersed in it.
it's not the be all and end all. When you step out of it, you start to see a little bit more. Now, like we were chatting about this before we started recording,
Mm,
about the fucking the backpacks and the snapbacks and the little clicks that walk around at the shows, and
mm.
like you get to a point where you're like, how, like, it's embarrassing. It's like, you can't be part of this clan because you've not, like, it's just like, it's supposed to be a sport where,
It's meant to be community.
yeah, it's a small
Yeah,
percentage of people wear support, and there's so much, like, it's so abrasive, and there's so many people that don't like this and this, and it's
very
like,
judgy.
it's very judgy, and you've got to be in with the right people, and if you don't do
Yeah,
this, then you don't get there, and like, it's so much that goes on, and you get some of the pros, and they don't act like pros at all. They don't help the little guy. They don't do anything like
mm.
that. All they care about is themselves, and yeah,
Yeah,
mate, honestly, it's to a point where I think now I'm out of it completely. Like, obviously, I still help people pose and stuff, but now I'm
yeah,
out of it. I look at it, and I if I see someone, even if that post, I love that person, I like following, but if that post gives me any type of emotion where I'm having, like, feel like I want to punch him or anything like that, I unfollow them straight away, because I'm like, I
yeah.
don't want to see that shit on my feed.
Literally, I don't want to be part of any sort of toxic outlook on
No,
I don't want to be spreading that toxicity,
no.
like, because I just think it's so, when I look at stuff and I think that that can change somebody's mindset to
Mm,
be, to make them feel inadequate and make them feel like they're not good enough. I don't want to be a part of that. Like, I don't want to be a part of that within this industry. When if you feel bad for being a normal human,
thank you.
and the drink just appears. Hello. But I don't want to be a part of an industry that makes you feel inadequate for being normal, or for having difficulties, or struggling with things. Like, I don't want to be a part of that.
Yeah,
And this whole perception of, like, you've got to be 100% on it or you're just not good enough.
yeah,
I don't want to be a part of that. I want you. It's all right to be a human. It's all right to struggle. It's all right to find it difficult and to do it and decide it's not for you anymore. That's absolutely
yeah,
fine. And if you do love it and you want to keep going and you want to smash it, amazing. Do it, but do it in a capacity that's supportive and looks after you,
yeah.
and builds you and develops you. Doesn't make you into a person that is, self-sabotaging and putting yourself down. Like, if you're in bodybuilding and you're feeling shitter about yourself being in it, then
It's not for
get
you.
out of it.
Like
Yeah,
you said,
get
it's
out
not
of
for
it.
you. I think that's exactly like what, like the mission, like I'm on, obviously you're on, is
Mm,
is to get that across to people, because now it's like I said, it's this thing of like, if you're not doing this, you're not disciplined enough. If you're not suffering, you're not disciplined enough. You're not good enough.
yeah,
And people think this is like a thing of like, oh, you know, don't train as hard. Don't. Not saying that, you train the way you want to train. Like, be fucking ruthless in what you do, but remember, you are human, and you need rest, and you need to listen to your body, and sometimes, if like pushing we need to push ourselves as well, don't get me
yeah,
wrong, we push, but again, there's a point where you should push and then pull back a little bit and not go beyond that as well. But
yeah,
now
exactly.
it's seen as weakness if you don't do it to that point, like, oh, well, that
Yeah,
person's doing it, yeah, but look at the state that they're in. Like, do you know what
yeah,
they're going through mentally? Because we do.
yeah,
We've
yeah,
been there, we have been there.
exactly, exactly. I think then this needs to be, as I said before, self-awareness.
Mm.
Self-awareness is
That's what
key.
it all draws back to, is, yeah,
100%.
self-awareness. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's one of those things, like I say, it's so out of control now, and that's why I literally just switched up everything I was doing. I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not doing that. I don't feel
Mm,
comfortable with that. And like you said before, if people want to do bodybuilding, fine, and do it the right way, but don't lie about aspects of it. Be
yeah,
truthful, and if someone asks you a question, just tell the truth. Like, they'll respect you more
exactly.
for it.
Yeah, defo. Like, I've always tried so hard to be as open and honest about it as I could be at the time. Obviously, throughout the years, there've been times where I've kept things to myself and I've needed to work through them. But now I try and be as open and honest about the difficulties of it, about how challenging it is, about what the journey is like. Like when clients want to work towards stage, I'm like, all right, well, this is what it takes. We're going to get you there. I'm going to support you. And I'm glad that I'm in a position where I have the experience, I have the skills, I have the ability to get someone on stage and support them mentally throughout,
Yeah.
pre-prep, post-prep. But there's so many people that don't, and so many people that end up, going into preps and getting up on stage and working. Oh God, Josh is ringing me. He's already tried to ring me once, and I've not.
Sunday.
He wants food. Yeah, he wants food. He's like, I'm on my way home. I need to eat. And I'm like, okay, that's basically him telling me make sure the kitchen is free.
Great. But we'll like wrap it up anyway, because I think we'll probably have to do another one at some point, because this has been
Yes.
we've got
We've got a lot to say. If people haven't
say.
realised, we've got a lot to say, and we will definitely share more.
We definitely will. I'm going to finish it off. So I've got a question I'm going to ask you. So if you had to ban one phrase from the fitness industry that you hate, what would it be?
Yeah, I already know it. Nobody cares, work harder. Hate it. Hate it. Nothing to do with anybody that's to do with, but I just don't like it because I care. Nobody cares, work harder. Yeah, I care though. Like, I do care.
And how do they know you're not working at your full capacity either, or you're not working hard enough? And it always comes from someone as well that doesn't do shit as well.
Yeah, I just don't like it. I understand the reasoning behind it, but I just don't like if somebody said to me, nobody cares, work harder, that really hurts me. And like, if my clients are like struggling and they're trying really hard and they're struggling, and someone's like, oh, no one cares, work harder, I'm like, no, it's all right. Like, I care. Don't just channel whatever you're going through and whatever's difficult into working harder. Like, look after yourself and still show up and be the best person that you can be for yourself. And that's the one thing that annoys me about that phrase.
And do you know what, as well, and this isn't like derogatory towards us whatsoever, but as women, we're more complex and we're emotional creatures. So if you say shit like that to us, you're gonna get one or two responses. You're gonna either really upset that person, or you're gonna piss her off so much that you're gonna just something's gonna get unleashed on you. And like I'm probably more towards I don't know if you've noticed, I'm probably more towards the other end where I'm gonna lose my shit.
Yeah, I mean, it depends what day you get me on. I'll either cry or punch you in the face.
Yeah, exactly. You got 50-50 on those, so watch out who you're saying it to. But it is one of those ones. Do you know what my favourite one? My favourite worst one is when someone says they're in the trenches.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, we're not in war, are we?
You're not in war.
We're just in a deficit, mate.
Use some fucking broccoli and some chicken or some lettuce. Like those poor blokes or women, they didn't have that. They were down that.
I'm in the trenches, mate. Oh God, you're just eating rice and chicken. It's not good.
There's many more, but I think again we could probably do a 2-hour podcast on phrases which we could do if people want that. We can do that.
Let us know if there's anything that you want us to go in on.
Yeah, or any questions that you have, because I think you'll have to come back in, because
definitely
it's been a good one. But
let's that.
We'll wrap it up there. Obviously, if people want to follow you and find you, what's your handle on socials?
Emily Olivia Coaching is my handle, and then my coaching is Natural Pro Coaching, which obviously is all for natural women. So if you are natty and you want to join me and you need help post-show, prepping, or in normal day-to-day life and just getting in a good place, or working on your mental health, or working in a relationship with food, I'm the girl for it.
And go over, because she is good people, and I don't push them to shit people. So
yeah, love that.
Thank you very much for listening, everyone, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Bye-bye.